Here.
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 Thank you. First up, Street and Alley, Chairman Fonte.
Okay, so we've had some discussion with the Apple Streets over there, south of Everhard Road, McIntosh, Stamen, Winesap, and so forth, Peachtree. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but we asked the health department to come in just to help elaborate any issues that we have. But basically, here's it in a nutshell. Winesap is the deepest part into the Apple Streets, and Jim put the overhead up, which I don't think you can see it that well. But basically, it's the bowl of North Canton. And this happens to be something that doesn't have any sanitary or sewer lines. And I think in 2009, they did a study to see if it's possible, what would be a feasibility study to do these things. And so we counted between 45 and 50 houses that will be affected by this particular area. And so what I'd like to do is, we met the health department out on Winesap, because that happens to be the bowl of the whole subdivision, and there's nowhere for the water to drain off, and the septic systems are failing, and it's starting to become like a health hazard issue. So to be proactive, and since this is sort of in my jurisdiction a little bit, the houses were built mostly in the 50s and 60s. And if you know anything about septic systems, they usually last between 25 and 35 years. So they're more than 50 years old, and some of them are failing now, where we don't really have anything to do with them. And this isn't acreage; these are just regular city-type lots. And so what I propose that we do is we take that 2009 study and we allocate some funds to do a drawing of possibly starting the construction of phase 1 to get the process going for the worst affected areas, and then over the next period of time do phase 2 and 3 because it's going to cost some money to do this. So we were looking to maybe consider a design. And Jim, what would it be? A design for construction and the best route to go, the most efficient way to go?
The estimate at this point, this just came up the end of last week, so we're throwing some numbers together. To do the final design for construction, it's going to be in the $50,000 to $75,000 range. That's to design them, to familiarize everybody with the area. Winesap, Morello, Stamen, Peachtree, just south of Everhard, and they all drain down towards Winesap. Now, the only way we're going to, well, there's two options. One is to put a pump station in, which we'd like to avoid, and the other is to tie directly into Canton, which we do on several occasions. We tie directly into Canton, or we tie into the county. So that's not something earth-shattering. All our sewers go to Canton, regardless. So we did, as Councilman Fonte mentioned, we did a preliminary study back 2009 because we knew this area did not have sewers, and when the septic systems start to fail, we wanted to be prepared. How are we going to service this area? So those were the two options: either put a pump station in, lift it back up to Everhard, or drain directly into Canton. And the best option from a maintenance standpoint is to drain directly into Canton. We've had some preliminary discussions with Canton, and there's a couple options where we can drain to. It's just a matter of determining which is going to be the least expensive from a construction standpoint. If you've ever been back there, it's very hilly and a lot of low areas. So to run a sewer to service this area, you sometimes have to go through a hill that might be 20 feet deep. It's going to be very costly. We're going to try to avoid that. So coming up with that final routing is going to be critical to try and do the most cost-effective design. So if we can start the design here shortly. I think there's some funds yet in this year's budget. We could start the design this year and have plans ready for construction probably beginning of the summer next year, possibly have it completed by the end of next summer, the first phase. It'll be designed for subsequent phases to the north, but it's the Southern Street on Winesap. That's the first phase we want to tackle.
So I just want to tag on that real quick. So phase 1 will really get the lowest part of the affected area.
Correct.
And then we'd be positioned to move forward to the following phases. But since it would be very costly, there'd probably have to be discussion at that point if we do assessments or if it's a voluntary thing. Sometimes maybe out of the whole section, there's maybe a handful of people that updated their systems. And that's really why I wanted the health department to come in, because it's not like we have acres to do fancy systems. So a lot of times the health department and EPA make you do irrigation systems. I don't know if you have anything you guys want to say about it or anybody pertaining to, since you check the area, you know kind of what our struggles are, obviously, because it's your struggle too.
You can come up to the podium.
You can just,
Paul. And just as a point of clarification, as everybody knows, in the city of North Canton, we do not have our own health department, whereas the city of Canton has the Canton City Health Department, city of Massillon has a Massillon City Health Department, and North Canton, what we do is we contract with the Stark County Health Department, and we pay them approximately, I think, $110,000 a year, and so they provide, so it's very cost effective for our city because we don't have to hire employees, we don't have to acquire all the certifications. We contract with the Stark County Health Department, but we do get, they have a board of health.
correct.
And we get to appoint the representative. And Terry Seeberger, he's an attorney, a local attorney, and he's been the appointee, I think, for the past like 10 years.
At least the last 5 years.
Yeah, has it
At
been that?
least.
I think it's been longer than that.
It might even be longer.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 years, so. But at any rate, that's the introduction. And Paul, thank you for coming today. And Paul is the Director of Environmental Health at the Stark County Health Department. And we have Todd.
Thank you.
Todd is also back. He's a unit manager in the environmental department.
All right, thank you, Mayor Held, President Peters, ladies and gentlemen of the North Canton City Council. This area, the biggest problem we have with this area, and the health department fully supports a sewer project in this area, and actually, that is the option for this area. And I'll tell you why. The biggest reason for our difficulties in correcting the septic issues in this area is there is not even a storm drain system in this area. So with small lot size, topography it can be hilly in this area. Also, poor drainage on top of that, probably because there's no storm sewers in the area. We really have a tough time correcting the issues that are there. I can't put an aeration system, if you're familiar with those. It's basically a small sewage plant that runs on an electric motor and discharges to the storm drain. But I don't have any place to discharge it. So these residents in this area are very affected by this issue. Really, the best way to solve this is to start a sewer project.
Paul?
At least start a line.
So like right now, like if my septic system's working, I'm not really worried about it, but if my septic system fails, or if it's failing in the near future, I mean, what I was more worried about is being that most of the houses are 1960 or older.
Correct. You're correct.
That if it happens quickly and we're not prepared, which it could happen, because I notice things are changing a lot with the regulations between the EPA and the health department, what their expectations are. And we're kind of caught between a rock and hard place because you can't even discharge it because I didn't realize, but on Weinstein, if you drive down there, there's some drain grates. They're filled all the way up to the top. What it was is just a dry hole.
Dry well, yeah.
Dry well. So there's nowhere you can drain it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so this is like right here in our backyard, so I thought it's something that needs to be brought to the forefront, and, I don't know what the solution would be except for storm and sanitary, or sewer and sanitary.
Currently, we're dealing with one public health issue on Winesap, and as Councilman Fonte explained, because of the age of the homes, then you figure in the age of the septic system, there's going to be more coming in this area where the septic systems fail. We're going to be limited to what we can do. Residents are very distressed by this, and I don't blame them. It's a tough issue.
Yeah.
That I think is best solved with a sewer project.
Yeah.
I know you're going to do the drawings. What if you have some sort of broad guesstimate about
what the project would cost?
Well, the overall, the final total cost is probably in the $500,000 range. The first phase, again, it could be, because that's going to be the worst part of it, is getting that outlet pipe down to Canton. It could be $200,000 to $300,000.
And then you were talking about assessments?
Well,
Potential, real quick, we have 50 houses times 500, that would be 10,000 per household, hypothetically.
yeah. Well, there's a couple ways you could do that. If you do the assessment process, there's a lot of upfront and a lot of delay going in. Council has to vote to assess them, but there's a lot of public meetings involved in that. You can do it as a tap-in fee, and the assessment then would just go on all the properties that could be served by the sewer, and that would start, right away. If you charge them a tap-in fee as they tap in, you avoid that, but you recover your money down the road.
So we could say, instead of making people hook up, because not everybody can swing the extra money, obviously, as your system starts to fail, you have to hook up. You can't fix it, patch it, just you gotta hook up. And like you said, it's a longer process to recoup that money. There's like 50 houses, roughly. Isn't that what we estimated?
Right, 45 to 50.
45 to 50 homes. The worst of it's wine sap, so obviously that was why we want to try to do phase one, because that's least expensive, but we have to start somewhere. But we know in the very near future, because they did the study in '09, which was several years ago, and obviously with the rain patterns and everything, it's just ruining the systems on top of it, because they can't take the water and the usage, But what I think he's saying is, if we do the assessment and it goes through public readings and we do it that way to get it onto taxes, but as we get phase one done, we reassess the cost of everything, we can reevaluate that at that time, is my thinking.
Right. And I'll sit down with Laura and come up with, if we want to go with as they tap in, what would be a fair charge. Because you look at them, one property might have 200 front foot frontage, and one might only have 100 foot of frontage. They're both going to benefit the same, but typically you charge per front foot.
Correct.
So we'll have to come up with some solution there, but it depends how council wants to proceed. If you want to proceed with the assessment process, then we'll go that way. If we want to go on the tap side, then we'll work with Laura and come up with a fair tap fees for that.
So that's 500,000 for all three phases?
That's approximate.
Correct.
Project. Now, some of those lots are fairly large, deep.
Correct.
Do they have the availability to split their lots through zoning, or?
If sewer were available,
Sewer's available, do we see maybe people putting another home on certain aspects of their parcel?
right,
I guess that's
there is that possibility. If they're situated just right, where they can split it, yeah, that's a possibility. That's one thing we'll have to consider when we do that tap-in fee or assessment, or, that's,
Yeah, if they have two lots, then that would be two taps, wouldn't it?
well, yeah, at that point, but,
Well, right now, because they probably can't get two septics on there.
But what I'm saying is that if, based on the zoning rules and all that, if you have enough square footage and you can have an access to get to that property, it could be technically surveyed, split, reparceled, and if there's sewer there, then it could be a buildable lot possibly.
I think what Mr. Foltz is saying,
Right.
if you have a large lot and they tie in, they paid for their lot basically. But then 5 years down the road, they split their lot. Well, what do we charge that lot?
I would think it should be something like every lot, that's sold and parceled off for a building lot, you have tap-in fees for water, tap-in fees for sewer, correct?
But they've already paid their tap-in fee for that
But
lot.
What I'm saying is that they parcel it off and sell the lot, or have a separate
Yeah.
bill where there's another sewer tap.
Yeah.
What do we do for water?
I don't think that's gonna
Water.
happen that much.
What do we do for water if that happens?
Water's a front foot fee. If they split their lot and they want another tap, we'll probably assess them at
See, that's, I think
25
it would
foot.
just be if you have two lots, like if you have one lot and you have
Yeah.
one house on it, but down the road you split it and sell a lot off, then that would be a separate
Well,
water tap and sewer tap.
do they have water now?
Yeah.
Most of them?
right.
Yeah, they do.
There's water lines there.
So if we
Correct.
assess them, how many years do we usually choose? How many years does that
An
work?
assessment, 20 years.
Usually. Yeah, so it is.
So like if you take.
Because a lot of times there's
10,000,
debt associated.
It's like it's
Yeah.
broken into 6-month increments. So if you take, 10,000 just for round numbers and divide it by 20, that's $1 million. No, I'm just kidding. 10,000.
Government
It's like, I think it's like $500.
So do they vote on that? I would assume the whole neighborhood, they come, they stay, do they get a choice?
Well, here's the thing, they're gonna, if their septic fails, they're gonna pay $10,000 to $15,000 for a new septic. It would be
Possibly,
cheap.
possibly.
Yeah, so it depends, if you patch it together, but if you get a new septic, what's an aeration, 12 to 15? Or, about, by the time
And you gotta pay it up front.
Problem is, I can't even put an aeration.
and you have to go.
So that's off the table.
It's off the table.
So aeration's off the table. I have no place to drain
There's
it.
nowhere to drain it.
There's no storm sewer.
That's a question, what do we do about the storm sewer? I mean,
With that dilemma.
what will that cause us if we don't have storm sewers there and we put sanitary?
Well, wouldn't we be working both of these into it?
Oh,
This,
no.
this, no,
You got money for that?
yeah, the storm is very, we'd have no outlet for the storm. We would have to tie into Canton,
Okay.
but if you tie, they're not gonna let us just tie a
A storm.
60-inch storm pipe into their system.
Yeah.
There's gonna have to be a
So-
retention, and there's no place to put a
So
retention.
if we solve the sewage problem, that's way better than a little bit of water. We can always do curb or gutter, we can redirect it, or dig some dry wells, better dry wells.
No, if you redirect it where you're redirecting it to,
No, what I'm saying is we got these dry wells that are all filled up now.
they don't really work.
They don't work?
It's not a solution.
What about they did port it over where the strip is?
Well, right
They put
now-
storage things underneath the ground.
Yeah, but you need the outlet. That's very expensive.
Okay, well, I'm trying to come up with some solutions.
Well, right now, it's the sanitary. Is there a storm problem right now where people are getting their basements flooded?
Not like Zimmer.
Then I don't think you want to tackle that unless
Okay,
you have a
well,
lot of
sewer's
money.
made priority, right?
Yes.
The sanitary.
Yeah, sanitary.
Right, sewer.
That's sewage. Sewage is not.
We got it.
But
Flooding doesn't help a septic system.
Right.
Well, that's,
Sewer,
right, we made it
sewer's the
into that.
option here.
We had all that
Is
flooding,
there-
and
is-
we backed up all their houses because we didn't have the good, storms in. So, I mean, we're gonna put sanitary in without storms, are we gonna cause any more crazy, are we gonna get, no, it's already bad enough?
Well, it's just the way the subdivision regulations were. They built there without infrastructure. They own it. I mean, that's just life. How can we help? Is there grants available? Is there anything out there that helps with this? Anything?
Now, there's probably loans to the EPA, but
Okay.
They have some low-income loans. If you're low income, you can get a grant type thing.
But what we're saying is it's gonna fail anyway. Do you wanna try to, there's no way to put another septic in. You have to go this route if your septic
So
fails.
what I'm asking for is, this is what I'm
Right,
asking
a
for.
design.
Is that we put some money aside, design it,
Right.
figure out the most efficient way to get phase 1 in. And we know in the near future, we're gonna have to get the sewer in, sanitary.
And see how the residents react with their.
Right, because like, once we see the hard cost, that will give you the math and figure out some creative.
Because they don't have an
ways.
option now. They have to
Yeah.
Well,
look at
like,
this.
like, if the septic fails, they have to fix the septic, and their only choice is a passive system, right?
But we're saying here,
And
the
unlimited.
septic isn't the best, maybe future infrastructure.
Have you ever had this issue with council all these years?
Not this big of it.
No, because there was so much curb and gutter to do in existing streets. This was kind
Well,
of
this is a big deal now.
the area that
There
was,
weren't issues, but now those homes are getting older and there's.
now there are issues, right?
So, just to clarify, Mr. President, we have, so really what we have is we've got the lowest point, I really believe it's the lowest point in the city, right?
No,
And if-
down by the railroad tracks is the lowest point,
Okay.
that little area in there.
Okay, that's true. So really what we have is we've got so the problem is there's no storm sewer. We have water lines that are running in there, so we've got good, clean drinking water going there. But whenever there's heavy rains or flooding, that's where you can get stormwater mixing with sanitary sewers if there's a breach in their septic system, right? So there's two areas, and the first priority is to run the sanitary sewer line. Because right now, if it was vacant land, the city would never approve homes to be built there now without a sanitary sewer line, correct?
In this area.
It's a health hazard now,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So really, the city has to place a sanitary sewer line for all of these available homes.
That's what I would like you to.
That's what you're
The
recommending?
health department wants us to.
I'm full in support. I mean, I understand the residents will have their say, but when their septic fails,
Right.
then they'll be on my side.
Because there's
Until
no
that
place for it
happens,
to
they're
go.
probably not, I mean, that's the reality of any sewer project. I mean, Todd and I have worked hard for the Limaville project up in, where they were able to get grant monies from the Corps of Engineers, but that was a tough project, to get that into that village. It was almost, some people say it would have never get done, would never get done.
Right.
But it's getting done.
Is that more because the residents really didn't want it?
No, it's more because of the income level of the residents in that village. And Todd and I put our heads together and wrote a grant. And actually, the Hoover Foundation funded our grant and paid for the study that you're asking for City Council to do. And that started the ball rolling. Once you did that study, you could go out and look for grant money. And we got it. We got $1 million from the Corps of Engineers, and we got.
Could you help us get grant money if we get that study done?
I mean, I think you guys are in position. Once you do that, then you guys as a city council have more.
Gives you leverage. in order
More
to-
leverage as a city going for it.
Well, then let's do this.
Of course, if we needed to write or study anything in the area to show the public health issues in the area, which we did for Limaville, absolutely we would do that. And that would strengthen your application ability when you go to apply for grants.
Okay, that's, thank you.
advice.
That's good.
So, yeah,
Do you guys have any more
so-
questions for the experts? No, I'm not an expert.
Okay.
I just know that we're in trouble.
Thanks for coming out there. Holidays.
I will give Mayor Held my card in case any of you folks on the council have another question or want to email
Thanks
me.
for.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Paul. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Todd.
Anything else on this, or are we good on this?
So that's 50 to 75,000 for the.
Yeah, we'd like to, if we could, just get Jim on it ASAP, because that's Jim's specialty. Jim, you have to get a consultant to help you or what?
Yep,
Okay.
we'll get that started.
We can get high gear, we get this on for next week.
We have money in the funds for this year, Laura?
Go check it out.
I'm sure
Okay.
we do. I can get
Yeah.
So I would just mention to everybody, if we could jump on this pretty quick and get phase
We're
one
there.
this roll. Okay, awesome. Thank you, guys.
We-
Okay, second line of business here. Okay, so the ordinance you see here, the alley name. So I see we have someone in the audience in the back. This is Aiden's Way. So this would be the alley we've been talking about. So thanks, Mr. Peters, President Peters. We got Aiden's Way, not Aiden's Alley. Is that correct back there? All right. So that's all we're saying is we just want to move forward with going ahead and get that taken care of. Aiden's Way.
Perfect.
All right?
I need a picture.
Yeah, we
I
want
need a
to.
picture of him in the sign.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice. Okay,
That's
great.
good.
The sign better be black and white too, not green.
Yes, no more green.
Yes.
That's really all I have today.
That's it, Doc?
That's it.
Well done. Okay.
Sorry, I'm dominated by day.
It's because you didn't be so quiet for all these meetings.
Yeah, it's finally gets to the way in on CRA.
That's why I like to talk.
Well, it's CRA, I got.
It's actually you showing some leadership.
I got field line freeze up, man.
All right. Okay, next up, finance and property. So the ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contract for administering self-insured health program. I'm going to have first Tim speak to this and then Laura take it.
Yes, sir, because Councilman Griffith, who's the chair, and the vice, Councilmember Kiesling, each have conflicts here. We're going to have them abstain from participating in the discussion and voting, and I believe our finance director is going to speak to the healthcare matter.
Thank you. You all have a summary on the desk in front of you. It looks like this. The city is self-insured for health insurance, which means we pay our own claims when employees use the health care. But we do annually look for proposals from various companies to cover the administration of that plan and the stop loss insurance. And what the stop loss is we pay the claims up to the first 50,000 for each employee. Anything over and above that, the stop loss kicks in and covers. If someone has a high level of claims, a severe illness or injury. We do contract with Huntington Insurance. They are our consultant on healthcare, so they go out and seek proposals from various companies, and you can see the little chart there where I've summarized what we received this year. The first column on the left, the 2015-16 alt care, is what we have currently. That's our current numbers. And then all the rest are for comparison for next year. We will start December 1st. That's our plan year beginning. The first column you see there, 2016-17 alt care, is a renewal offer from them. It'd be exactly the same plan that we have in the current year, so employees would see no change. Everything would be as normal. And that is a firm and final offer. The next three offers are also self-insured, stop-loss, and administrative offers. However, you can see not final there on the chart. Those would still need more healthcare data, claim data, to give us a final and firm offer. And we have had a couple of kind of high-dollar claims in the past several weeks. So I feel like if we went back to them, we may actually get a higher offer, although that's not known. But they did not come in with firm and final as All Care did. And then the last column is Medical Mutual. That's an illustrative offer. It's also not firm and final, and that's for a fully insured program. So rather than us paying our own claims, we would just pay them a premium, and they would pay any claims on their end. You can see the total cost there at the bottom of each column. The very lowest, by about $5,000, is the matrix offer, but again, that's not firm and final. The second, and what the consultant recommended, and I also feel would be the best bid at this time, is the alt care renewal offer. It's about $5,000 higher, but it would be no change to employee, and we have had a relationship with them for quite a long time, is my understanding. This offer is just under 5% higher than last year. Last year was about an 8.5% increase over the prior, so to only have a 5% increase this year is very good, and usually most folks will use about a 10% increase as an average kind of for budgeting purposes, so to get less than 5 is pretty favorable. Yes, sir?
I just had a question. I don't know if everyone's going to be laughing for this, but I mean, is it possible to have like an HSA account for all the employees and we just put money into their account, let them manage it, versus the Cadillac policies?
Not what they negotiated in their contract.
Correct.
Okay, so we can suggest that.
Yes, to suggest
You're
that.
correct. The healthcare is in the negotiated agreements with the unions.
Like
So.
Obamacare or something like that. No, I was just curious if the HSA is something to, put money into the account to make it more efficient, make it manage it, make it more cost effective.
Is there any advantage to this medical mutual, different way of doing it?
The advantage is you take away some of the risk from the city. If you're fully insured, you're putting all the risk on the insurance company, but that usually comes at a price. And we do have a pretty healthy reserve built up here at the city to cover our claims. That's why most cities, not only do they buy the stop loss, like I said, up to the first 50,000 per person, but they'll also buy what's called an aggregate stop loss. So it'll say if you had a total of $500,000 in claims, anything over and above that, and you pay an additional fee to have that coverage. We don't buy that aggregate stop loss because we have such a nice healthy reserve in our insurance fund that we can take on that risk. So if you go fully insured, then you pay a little more and have a little less risk. But I will say, during 2016, our claims have been pretty good, pretty low as compared to the past several years. It's my understanding we've had a few employees either leave or retire who had some of our high claim
So that's
folks.
the reason we have an influx of younger employees
Right.
with retirements of existing workforce.
Right, and claims are all about who goes to the doctor and what illnesses that our employees have, and that's
Along with their families.
Absolutely,
I
along
mean,
with their
that's the
dependents.
big deal.
And that can go up and down every year.
Right, you have a lot of kids on one side, and you have
Right.
When you say administrative fees here, what is that exactly? Is it
That's,
their costs doing the billing,
exactly,
insurance claims of all our workers and families?
exactly.
And what does Huntington charge us to, I know we always paid a fee to have somebody assess or take bids for proposals for health insurance. Do you know?
I do not know off the top of my head, but I can find out for you.
Because we used to have an individual come up and talk about it, give us a pamphlet.
Right,
They would come and go over, what's going on in the future. Not that this isn't nice and concise and everything that we're looking at.
This is excellent.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, from what I've heard and from what
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's great.
Yeah, and the consultant did offer to come, and so if you do have more questions or you'd like
Did
him
he
to come.
provide something for you?
He
could give
did,
to us?
yeah,
Okay.
and he actually provided much more detailed information
Yes.
than this. I kind of summarized it, and then
Okay.
I sent this to him to make
who's
sure
our
it was.
consultant issue?
His name is Mark Wessner. He's through Huntington. I think he's the gentleman that's been here at the meetings in prior years.
We've had a couple of
Yeah.
Okay, so that's available to us if we want to look.
Yeah, if you have more questions or you'd like him
Okay.
to come in, we can do that.
Didn't know anyone? What was that issue? Yeah.
Got any questions of Laura?
No, but Laura, thank you for helping us understand this. I don't think I've ever been told how to do this,
No.
except for a guy coming and try to sell me on it, so
Yes.
I appreciate that, your knowledge.
This is the first time I have seen such a clear summary sheet of our health insurance and our claims, and you explained it very well. I mean, this is
Thank you.
very straightforward.
He's been here, I mean, I've seen it.
Yeah, this is exactly, I think, what we did every year. So.
Yes, it's just
With
one
this,
page.
well, last year we got one bid and that was it.
It's
But
some
some,
Cadillac of bulk carrier, the Cadillac of negotiating.
Still not good for competition when you see just one. You gotta see.
Because they can't afford
they
it.
don't want to do it.
Well, that is true. We did receive a lot more bids than in the
They didn't
past.
really put it out to a lot of people, so a lot of people.
No, just no one responded.
No one responded.
They bid out, and no one put it back.
Good.
Do you, well, we were trying to understand.
It's a cap.
This is good. I like this summary sheet.
Pay for all this nonsense.
Yeah, the summer sheet is very helpful.
My
I
house
like
pays
this.
my house payment now.
Good summary sheet.
Sheet's great.
Yes. We have the rest of the information we want.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to include public defender's legislation request under ordinance rules of claim?
So moved.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right, thank you. We have in your packet, you have the legislation request and the ordinance, 75-16. Steph, you want to?
Yeah, this is just something we do typically every single year. This contract engages the Stark County Public Defender Office to provide legal counsel in the Canton Municipal Court for indigent persons. They do it for $200, which is a really inexpensive rate, and it just allows us that opportunity. It's really just a contract renewal. And we're going to put it on the agenda.
And that would be under emergency.
Yes.
Okay. That concludes the agenda. Entertain a motion to adjourn for this meeting.
So moved. Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
We are adjourned. I'd like to call to order the special council meeting, Monday, November 7th, 2016, at 7:20 or 7:35. Clerk, please call the roll.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Thank you very much. At this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward and state your name and address.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. This is just spur of the moment. I wasn't even aware that we did a study in the city regarding the lack of sewage in the southwest part of town. And to think of all the expenditures I've seen go on up here, that shouldn't have taken place, because I think along about 08, 09, we gave $440,000. Well, first of all, we pulled $1.5 million out of the city's treasury to give to the CIC. And that just brings up the thought in my mind is now, how much is the CIC sitting on in just pure cash, sitting in their bank account? And then out of that $1.5 million, we gave $440,000 of that to buy cranes over here at the Hoover District, so Mr. Dehoff and Mr. Lickner didn't have to buy them for their tenant. We didn't buy them for Myers Control Tower. We bought them for Mr. Dehoff and Mr. Lemon, or Mr. Lickner. At any rate, why are we being proactive? I've been up here 17 years, and I had no idea that that area of the city had no sewage whatsoever. And I think this is sad, that we have made these kind of distributions of public monies, knowing all along that they were headed to Armageddon down there as far as sewage. Because if you don't have sewage, you don't have nothing. You can't live there, you can't have business, you can't have anything. That's why years and years ago, government made these kind of services available, and that was the tax incentive for development. At any rate, I guess, Mrs. Brown, I'd like to know if you can email me how much the CIC is sitting on in just pure cash, doing nothing with it. That's economic development. Why don't you take some money out of that CIC? Anyway, this doesn't speak to me as being very proactive. You know, we all grow up in our little neighborhoods thinking everybody's living a lifestyle similar to us. Everybody at least has sewer and water. And wow, those people are headed to Armageddon over there. Because the minute their sewer system quits, I don't know what they do then. Anyway, I've seen a lot of money pissed away up here, and it's sad to know that we have property owners here in town who were headed to just utter disaster. And then in addition to their frontage fees, they're going to have to actually extend the sewer line from their house out to that. So they're going to get a double whammy. Not only are they paying frontage fees for the line that goes across the front of their property line, but they're also going to have to pay for a line that runs from the house out to meet that main line. So anyway, I just have to scratch my head sometimes at some of the things I see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I ask you to remind your speakers that our council ordinance do not permit those that speak, that are public speak, to use profanity. Ask them not to use that again.
Good advice.
What profanity was it? I don't even know.
I'm not going to repeat it.
wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
That's basic language. Thank you, Mr. Fox.
Also, a rules that you don't shout from the audience. You ask them, please.
You didn't tell some of the story about her, she spoke from the audience.
Chuck, it's okay. Let's move on. All right. Anyone else wishing to address council? Yes, ma'am. Please.
Jessica Stroya, 638 Portage Street, Northwest. I just really want to address council and everybody here. Thank you. I really, from the bottom of my heart, I know it sounds really childish to say, I just really want to get deliveries. But I do. I got pizza delivered, and it was the cutest thing ever because I was like, just wait. You can come down Aiden Way, and there will be a sign soon. And the guy from Zeps was like, all right, like, we'll remember this. So, and just simple things like that. I was telling Brett in the back, in North Canton, you have the ability to do these things for a 5-year-old or for anyone in that matter. It's a small place. It's a home. It's our home, and my husband and I both have lived here all of our lives. And I just thank you. It really means a lot. I will invite you all to the unveiling.
Sounds good.
Yeah, our niece has donated. They said those giant scissors, and I'll get a ribbon from somewhere, and it will be a big old party, and Zepp's Pizza will deliver.
Yeah, I'll be there for that.
Use a local business.
Exactly. Soul pie pizza, you know, I can't go wrong with that. They're basil pizza.
That would be a good article for our newsletter. Picture of.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
Just don't get carried away, we may not be plowing that road.
That's okay. That's okay. My dad has already donated snow blowers. But yes, I just want to thank you all. So.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Last chance. All right, we'll move on. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 74-16.
So moved.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, no, this is the.
Yes. That's abstain.
There it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Thank you. And again, thank you to Finance Director Brown. Appreciate the overview. And without further ado, I'll entertain a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 74-16.
So moved. Second?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Abstain. Abstain.
All right, thank you very much. And that concludes our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.